Adele Wheeler becomes a depressed single mother after her husband left her all alone with their 13-year-old son Henry to marry another woman. Despite Henry's efforts to cheer her up by doing the house chores and being her one-day husband, he is unable to perform all the duties of a husband, and this makes Adele sad. Henry realizes that Adele is his only family, and that means going to shop for groceries once a month. While shopping one afternoon, Henry meets a man, Frank, who is bleeding, and asks him for his help. Even though he looks suspicious, Henry agrees to take him to Adele, but she is reluctant to help him. Frank then threatens to strangle Henry, forcing Adele to give him a ride to her house, where he will be staying for a few days. On getting home, Henry wonders how he hurt his leg, and Frank tells him that he got injured while escaping from the hospital, where he was taken to get his appendix removed from prison. Upon hearing this, Adele becomes scared after finding out that he is an escaped convict, wanted by the police, but Frank asks if he can stay in their apartment till nightfall. He promises not to hurt her and states he has never harmed anyone intentionally, but Adele doesn't believe him. Shortly after, the three of them watch the news where they find out that Henry escaped from prison after serving 18 years for murder, although Frank states that the news is lying, as it didn't happen that way. He requests to tie Adele up to stage a kidnap in case someone comes by, to which Adele reluctantly agrees. After tying her up, he prepares a meal and feeds Adele her portion, while Henry looks on. Later at night, Henry is unable to sleep and decides to go check up on his mother, but finds out that she is asleep in her bed. He also finds Frank sleeping on the couch and goes back to sleep. Meanwhile, Frank remembers his life as a Vietnam War soldier and his girlfriend bidding farewell as he is being deployed to battle. The next morning, Frank prepares breakfast, and he asks Henry if he has any siblings. Henry informs him that his father got married as soon as his secretary after Adele failed to give birth to another child. Soon after, Adele joins them and asks Frank to tie her up, but he tells her that they wouldn't need it anymore. After breakfast, Frank repairs the car, does some housework, and teaches Henry how to play baseball. While Adele helps Frank stitch his wound, they hear a knock on the door. Frank pretends to apprehend Adele and asks Henry to answer the door. However, the intruder turns out to be their neighbor, Mr. Jervis. He gives Henry a bucket of fruits and asks him not to answer the door for anyone, after hearing of Frank's escape from the news. After he leaves, Adele warns Frank not to make Henry his accomplice and tells him to stay away from her son, because he is starting to see Frank as a fatherly figure. Afterward, Frank notices that the fruits are overripe, and he decides to make a peach pie with them. He enlists the help of Adele and Henry, teaching them how to prepare the pie in the process. They make a lot of contacts while preparing the meal, and they eat the peach pie for dinner. Later at night, while Henry plays his game, Frank touches Adele seductively, and she becomes comfortable being around him. Not long after, Frank demands that he leaves, but Adele and Henry think that he should stay a little longer and let his stitches heal because the cops have dogs that can smell his blood. Unable to sleep, Henry listens to Adele's conversation with Frank, and she tells him about her insecurities. The next morning, Frank fixes the house and Adele teaches him how to dance. Later on, Henry goes to get some groceries from the store and accidentally reveals to the cashier that the shaving stick isn't for him. However, he manages to convince him that he is the owner. On getting home, he finds out that his mother and Frank are in the backyard talking and forgets to close the door. Shortly after, their neighbor, Barry's mother, comes over and asks Adele to watch over her crippled son, Barry, while she runs some errands. Although Adele initially refused to babysit him, she finally agrees after much pleading. Inside, Frank introduces himself to Barry and teaches them how to play baseball. Later on, Frank remembers returning home after the war to his girlfriend. They make love to each other, and she soon gives birth to a child. However, on a fateful night, they have an argument and Frank accidentally pushes her against the stairs, leading to her death. Later at night, the family watches the news and Barry sees Frank on the television being wanted. When his mother returns, Barry tries to tell her about Frank, but she slaps him, and the two leave the house. Later that night, Adele asks Frank why he didn't appeal, but he says that he got what he deserves. They continue to bond while Frank watches on and realizes that they are in love. The next morning, Adele asks Henry to pick up a book on Canada from the library as they are planning to relocate to Canada. While he searches for the book, he sees a girl he once met at the store and becomes infatuated with her. He starts a conversation with her and the girl. Eleanor tells him to get rid of Frank because she believes he is going to separate him from his mother. She states that Adele is being manipulated with sex and Henry contemplates staying with her. It's Sunday, and Henry goes out with his father and his new family. While they talk, Henry accidentally says that a man is hanging around in their house, causing his father to be jealous. On getting home, Adele informs Henry that they will be traveling to Canada to start afresh, but Henry thinks that they are leaving him behind just like Eleanor predicted. However, Adele assures him that she can never leave him, but asks him not to inform anyone. Curious, Henry asks how Frank will get past the cops, but Adele tells him that they will be searching for a man traveling alone, not a family, implying that Adele and Frank are in love. The next day, the family begins to pack for their journey, and Frank sees a picture of Adele being pregnant after giving birth to Henry. Moments later, Henry leaves the house to meet Eleanor, and he informs her that they would be traveling the next day. Eleanor becomes sad and figures out that they are running away because Frank is the fugitive they are looking for. It turns out she has a crush on Henry and tries to convince him that Frank is going to steal his mother away from him unless he does something to get rid of him. She kisses him on the lips and tries to convince him to stay, revealing that she will have to find someone else to make out with if he leaves. Meanwhile, Adele finds out that Frank's wound is getting infected and decides to get him drugs, but she is unable to start the car out of fear. Frank asks her what happened, and she explains how she has been trying to give her husband, Gerald, another child. However, after several miscarriages, she finally gives birth to a girl, but the baby dies at birth, and Gerald left her all alone. One day while shopping, she finds out that Gerald's new wife is pregnant, and she refuses to go out ever since. However, Frank tells her that he is here to save her, and Adele informs him that she can't give him a family, but Frank reveals that she already has. The next day, Frank recalls the cause of the argument with his wife. It turns out that he found out that she was sleeping with another man, and their baby wasn't even his. Enraged, Frank pushes her down the stairs, killing her instantly. However, he doesn't realize that they left the baby in the bathtub, while they argue and his daughter drowns. Meanwhile, Henry sneaks out of the house to drop a note for Gerald. On his way home, a cop sees him and offers to give him a ride home. Despite Henry's objections, after arriving at Henry's house, the cop becomes suspicious after he discovers that their car has been packed, but decides to leave after searching the house. Immediately after the cop leaves, Henry and Adele leave for the bank to withdraw her money, while Frank stays back to finish up the house cleaning. At the bank, the manager becomes suspicious after Adele requests to withdraw all the money in her bank account, but Henry manages to clear his doubts. Meanwhile, Barry's mother goes to Adele's house to thank her for watching over Barry and sees Frank in the house. Frank tells her that he is there to fix something, but she does not believe and feels that something is wrong. She tricks him by asking for her pan back, and Frank is able to find it, despite claiming to be just a handyman. On getting home, a freaked out Adele finds out from Frank that Gerald called about his letter, which makes her even more scared. Frank requests that they leave immediately, but Henry insists on saying goodbye to his room, and the cops arrive soon after. Frank ties her and Henry to the chair to prevent them from being charged to court for harboring a fugitive, and the cops arrest Frank. Frank is charged with kidnapping, and Adele meets with the prosecutor to clear the misunderstanding, but he tells her to think about it again, as it is a crime to harbor a fugitive, and she could lose custody of her son. Frank is charged with 10 years of kidnapping and 15 years for escaping prison. Adele tries to visit Frank and sends him letters, but the letters are returned unopened with the prison seal as he is in solitary. After a month, Adele relinquishes Henry's custody to Gerald and unintentionally blames Henry for what happened. Years later, Henry and Eleanor are now dating, and he moves back to live with Adele for the rest of his senior year. Back home, Henry tries baking for the first time, and a few years later he opens a pie store. One day, Frank writes a letter to Henry after finding out about his store in the magazine and asks if he has his permission to write a letter to his mother. Henry replies and tells him that Adele still lives in the same house. Months later, Adele meets with Frank on the day he is released, and they share an emotional hug. Meanwhile, Henry is now happy as he doesn't have to worry about his mother being lonely again, and the movie ends with Frank and Adele walking through a farmland.
Hello. Today we will recap a romantic and psychological movie, in which a lonely teacher hugs her young student. To know what happens next, watch till the end. The film began with Erica arriving home late than usual. When her mom heard her arrival, she came over and asked her why she was late, yet her last piano class was 3 hours ago. She responded that because she remained in her cage, she needed some fresh air. Her responses did not satisfy Erica's mother, who then decided to take Erica's purse away from her in order to look inside. Erica never wanted to hand over her purse. Her mom searched her purse as she ran to find her new outfit. Her mother discovered a new dress in Erica's bag along with a check that showed she had withdrawn some cash. Erica got mad and pulled her cloth off her mom's hands. They later fought, and Erica violently grabbed her mother's hair. Her mother later gave her outfit and her paycheck, but she was no longer angry with her because she had a bruise on her head. Erica apologized for her recent behavior, and they eventually patched up. One day, Erica arrived home from piano lessons early. Her mother and she were preparing for the recitals that her friend had organized. Walter followed them up to the entrance when they arrived. After that, his auntie opened the door and introduced Walter to Erica. She gave an excellent performance at the recitals, and everyone was impressed. Following the performance, the guests were served a delicious buffet. Walter then took advantage of the opportunity to speak with Erica, because he was impressed by her performance. During their conversation, he expressed an interest in music. Erica was concerned because he was studying engineering. Walter told Erica that she seemed to be a good teacher. Walter decided to get her something to drink because she never wanted anything to eat. Then Erica's mother approached her and inquired about Walter. Walter was allowed to perform after the lunch break, because his musical passion was linked to his family background. Despite having studied engineering, he played Schubert, Erica's favorite, to impress her. The next day, Erica began her piano lessons with Anna, who was to perform at some future event. As she was walking home from her lessons, Anna's mother approached her to inquire about how far Anna had progressed with her piano lessons. Anna was crying because she wasn't prepared for the performance. Erica told her that she needed to put in more effort, because Schubert was not a walkover. Then she asked Anna's mother to let her go because she had an appointment. Erica decided to go to her favorite movie theater after her appointment. She smelled men's fluid from the dustbin and watched some hugging videos there. Because Anna required more practice time, Erica provided it in each of her lessons. Walter showed up during one of the sessions, because he wanted to ask Erica about the entry exam for her piano class in person. Erica acted professionally by sending him to the secretary's office, but Walter felt small because he thought his previous interactions with Erica had made them that close. Students were chosen after an exam, and Walter was eventually accepted into Erica's class. Because Erica enjoyed pain, she cut herself several times. She made the decision to cut her sweet spot. Later during dinner time, her mother thought that Erica was on her period. So she was not bothered at all. One day, when Erica went to her movie spot, she found one of her piano student with his friends. He was looking at some hugging magazines. She found it embarrassing because he was underage, and the location was intended for adults only. The next day, during the lessons, Erica was mad at him. She asked him what he was looking for in those magazines. She told him after the lesson that he needed to come with his parents to his next lesson. As soon as he left, Walter came in as the next student and asked Erica to let him practice. She told Walter that she voted against him because she knew he was more interested in something else, which Walter did not deny because he wanted to hug her. He tried to express his feelings for Erica, but she simply ignored him. But later, for the first time, she stalked Walter after the lessons. Erica informed her mother the next morning, as she was leaving for work, that she would be arriving home late due to night rehearsals. After the rehearsals, she went to a different type of cinema, where people watch movies on a big screen while in their cars. Because it was a place for adults, everyone had a partner except Erica, who walked through the parking lot because she was lonely. She saw a couple hugging each other, and they almost caught her. The next day, during rehearsals, Anna refused to appear on stage because she felt she wasn't ready. But Erica talked to her and convinced her to perform, and Walter also tried to give her strength. When Erica saw the two of them, she became jealous, so she broke a glass and put the broken pieces in Anna's jacket. Walter went to talk to Erica about his idea of doing the Schubert at the end of the rehearsals. Anna screamed after her hands began to bleed, as a result of the broken glasses Erica had placed in her coat. She then asked Walter to go be the hero and help Anna, because she was afraid of seeing blood. But it was the opposite, because she found pleasure in pain, and she went to the washroom. Walter later followed her there and they shared a weird hug. Erica gave his bull a kiss. Walter was irritated because Erica's kissing was incomplete. She told Walter that she would give him instructions over the phone or in writing. Because of what had happened to Anna, Her mother went over to Erica's class to talk about Anna's situation, and what her next option could be. When Walter came to his piano lessons the next day, he asked Erica not to destroy anything that would bring them together, because he was madly in love with her. But instead, she pushed him away while pretending to act professionally. She later went to her bag and picked up a letter containing her instructions and gave it to him. Walter asked Erica when they would see each other again, and she said they would talk on the phone. Walter followed her back home, and as she was about to enter her apartment, he confronted her and insisted on finding a private place for them to talk, because he needed some time with her. Later, Erica asked her mother to let him in because they had some matters to discuss. Walter was so excited, because he thought it was going to be a special night. They put a bookshelf on her room door to keep her mother from interfering, and she asked Walter if he had read the letter. She asked him to do it, because it was the only password for hugging and he hadn't read it yet. Erica's mother was curious about what was going on in the next room, but she could not get anything. Walter read the letter, but he couldn't do the things that she asked. He even told Erica she was sick and needed help, and he left disappointed. Erica's mother thought he hugged her. The next day, Erica went to see Walter at his hockey field for a chat. Walter was surprised how she found him, and she explained that she followed him one day after piano lessons. She apologized to him for her recent behavior, and promised to make things right. Because she was also madly in love with him and willing to go to any length to be with him. She again kissed his bull in the storeroom. Walter went over to Erica's house late at night, because he desperately wanted to hug her. So he began doing the things she had specified in the letter. Walter claims she is the one who has pushed him to their final hugging. The scene leaves it unclear who has hurt whom, and whether what has occurred is a disaster for Erica, or a great hugging session. He expected her to enjoy it, but because they were all illusions and she had never experienced them, she felt assaulted, and her mother felt sorry for her. It turns into a nightmare for her, that distorts her reality and breaks her for good. Erica stopped the mother from calling the police because it was all her idea. The next day, Erica and her mother prepare to go to the function, and Erica keeps a knife in her purse. Erica and her mother went to the function in which Erica was set to perform the piano show. But she was waiting for Walter because she wanted to talk to him. Then she sees Walter. Walter came there with all his relatives to watch the show. Erica plans to talk to Walter, but Walter ignores her. Erica gets very hurt by his behavior and she injured herself with the knife. In the end, the final violent encounter between them ends in ambiguity. Who has hurt whom? So this was the story of the film The Piano Teacher, released in 2001. If you like the story, then do watch the full film, and if you want to watch more such amazing recaps, then do subscribe to our channel. See you in the next recap.